Florida Maquis, I haven't heard you talk about Bitcoin lately, and I've noticed that the price has gone up a little bit. Are you still willing to stand by your statement that it's a bad investment and that it's going to go to zero? For the average person, absolutely. Unequivocally do I stand by that statement. Just like the pirates in black sails, there were a few, right at the very top, that sailed away with a great deal of wealth, but the vast majority of those who helped them get there wound up with nothing. And that's going to be what happens to the vast majority of people who believe in this Bitcoin scam, where they've taken real wealth and converted it into something that has no intrinsic value, but then used appeal to emotion to get people to keep doing that over and over again. Case in point, 29 March 2022, a hacker stole $625 million from the blockchain behind NFT game Axie Infinity. Just one of these mindless little games that they play on this ridiculous network. And somebody got a hold of 173,600 Ethereum and 25.5 million USDC. That's the cryptocurrency pegged to the US dollar. There's nothing they can do about it. Nothing they can do about it. This was something that the crypto people said would never happen. They said it was impossible. It was too secure. Couldn't possibly be hacked. See, the modern day billionaires are just like the pirates of the West Indies. Those pirates that came to the New World in the Bahamas, in Nassau, comparatively speaking to the rest of the world, were wildly wealthy. They had more gold than some countries did. And that's why they began running black market schemes like brothels and pirate ships in fleets going out and robbing for a living. And that's exactly what's going on, based on appeal to emotion. The general category of many fallacies that use emotion in place of reason in order to attempt to win the argument. It's a type of manipulation used in place of valid logic. Tactic used by marketers to evoke certain feelings in a target market. It can be portrayed and achieved through the use of images, words, music, and or sound effects. And when you take events and add emotions to them, they become unforgettable. In today's video here, I am going to lay out a specific scenario that everyone out there is going to be able to relate to. We talk about this much more in detail over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, where we teach psychological operations. Appeal to emotion is just one of them. There are 24 logical fallacies, 24 cognitive biases. Primarily with cryptocurrency, it's anecdotal evidence plus appeal to emotion. People want to feel like they're doing something to combat the evil dollar, to somehow protect their wealth from the eventual collapse and all this kind of stuff. They want to feel like they're doing something, when nothing is actually being done but making more billionaires wealthy. Now here's an example of how two different groups of people, the billionaires who own cryptocurrency and those who aren't billionaires who own cryptocurrency, can both be doing the same thing for two entirely different reasons. Let's use the example that we used in black sails. It takes place in the West Indies in Nassau, primarily centered around a brothel. This is one of the main characters, Max. Now, this is just a generic representation of a girl who works at a brothel and one of her customers going upstairs to do what they do. Now, you look at this and you think, oh, there are two people going upstairs to do the same thing. Now, anybody who understands the psychology of this knows that where this person's mind is and where this person's mind is two totally different places. Even though it appears to be the same thing, it appears to be two people engaging in an identical activity. Psychologically, it's completely different. Her mind is going to be going as far away from the event as possible, looking as far down the road as possible to a day when she never has to be there ever again. That's her goal behind the activity. For him, best day ever, and he can't wait until the next time he can afford to do it. So he'll be there present, having a wonderful time, and she will be as far away as possible. This is the idea. This is the idea of what's happening in Bitcoin. Back during that era, they told people, hey, hop aboard the ship. We're going to go 2 weeks down the road and way far away from kings and rules and, lords and barons, and it's going to be a great time for everyone. It wasn't a great time for everyone once they got there. It was a great time for quite a few. See, this guy here, Jack Rackham, the pirate, he would go out and find these guys. They were desperate, put them on a boat. They'd go rob somebody, and they'd come back and get paid for it. And then they would, of course, take their money, quote unquote, that they, quote unquote, earned, and they would go purchase a feeling. They would go purchase a feeling for a short amount of time that went away. And that's exactly what the Bitcoin pirates are selling you. A feeling of doing something. A feeling. And there are a few. There are a few that have made some temporary wealth. Some have said, Florida Maquis, I got into Bitcoin and now I have this, and this, and I'll never have to work again. You see, that's why you won't be a billionaire. Ever. Because billionaires that are still investing in things like Bitcoin, if they're billionaires, why are they not doing anything but just sitting on a beach and drinking pina coladas and enjoying life? Why would you go engage in this if you were a billionaire? It's called being a psychopath. Because they have to be taking advantage of somebody, somewhere, somehow, some way. That's the goal. Now, in the real world, how many people out there know those involved perhaps in real estate that make certain wardrobe choices in order to sell houses or to sell cars, using emotional manipulation to achieve an end? It's not just specific to Bitcoin. Example, billionaire sailor's MicroStrategy takes on $205 million loan to buy more Bitcoin as experts eye 50,000 price. A billionaire. People have used sailor as an example trying to say I'm wrong. Why would a billionaire take on a loan? Well, it's real simple. Not going to risk his own money. He's going to risk the bank's money. And he's going to take on the loan through a company so that it can be written off if it doesn't work out. He's not going to risk one penny. Not going to risk one penny. Besides, let's say you have $70 billion. And 1 year you make bad decisions and you have 50 billion. Maybe the next year you make good and you have 80. And then next year, really bad year and you're down to 40. But then you have another really good year and up to 65 again. When you're talking about $1 billion after that, none of it matters. None of it matters. Using cryptocurrency as collateral. And there's another story here about this guy, the Mexican billionaire, that has gotten a concession to build a geothermal power plant, meaning taking money from the Mexican people. And he's going to mine Bitcoin with his new geothermal power plant that he got granted a concession to build from the Mexican government. Not for this purpose. The cryptocurrency mining came after he got the concession. He didn't say, I was going to build this so that I can make myself more wealthy. He built it because he said, oh, geothermal's the future. Geothermal's the future. We need renewable energies. And Mexico said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. Well, of course, now the guy is going to use it to enrich himself. And this guy, wait until you listen to what this guy has to say when you read in between the lines. Billionaire investor Bill Miller now has 50% of his personal wealth in Bitcoin. The famed fund manager has invested heavily in Bitcoin in his funds before. But let's read the details of what he actually says. He has actually told people to invest about 1%. Despite his own heavily concentrated position, Miller's advice for average investors is to put 1% of their net worth in Bitcoin, reasoning that if you put 1% of your portfolio in it for diversification, even if it goes to zero, but of course possible, you can always afford to lose 1%. Now, Let's look at this guy's overall record. Meanwhile, despite how well Miller's personal investments have performed, he said the other 50% of his portfolio is in Amazon stock. His funds have not done anywhere near as well. Miller Opportunity Trust, the $2.2 billion fund that he's the co-manager of, fell about 3% in 2021 compared to a roughly 27% gain for the S&P 500, meaning that if he had just put his money in index stocks, he would have made 30% more than he did. He lost 3%, index was 27. But this guy's a genius. This is who you're going to take your financial advice from? And then this guy. World's biggest crypto fortune began with a friendly poker game. This Binance CEO, Changpeng Zhao. He's got $96 billion. He said, I'm going to give away most of my wealth before I die. If you have $96 billion and you give away 90 billion of it, does that make you a charitable soul? Does that make you a good guy? I only have 6 billion now. I'm almost destitute. I'm almost completely broke. People like this have nothing in common with you or I. But the idea is the same. The idea is the same. You'd have to ask yourself a question, why would the guy wait until he died if he had that much, when there's so many other places that money could be doing good? Not his responsibility, I get that. But make no mistake, they will do or say whatever to get as wealthy and as powerful as possible. Just like this character did. You see, this is where it all started. When this character finally snapped, working at the brothel, and became a psychopath, and did whatever to whoever to get to the point where she never had to feel any pain ever again. And a lot of people died, a lot of people suffered, a lot of people had some horrible things happen to them along her path based on decisions that she made. I guess you can say that's life, but I guess it's the argument between, what do you think sells more? Suntan oil or sunburn cream? I want you guys to think about that. What do you think sells more? Suntan oil or sunburn cream? Sunburn cream by orders of magnitude. Way more people, even though everybody knows the sun's out there, will let themselves get burned and spend money on sunburn cream after the fact before going to the store and saying, oh, suntan oil, that's way too expensive and it's somewhat vain. I'm not going to do that. They'd rather burn. They'd rather burn. Appeal to emotion. Two different people doing the same thing for two entirely different reasons. You might say that the guy might be a little bit more sane in this particular case. Because, well, that's probably something we need to reserve to talk about over at Patreon, because that's probably too much for here. So I'll leave it there. God bless. Would love to have you guys join us over there. $1 per month. Even less if you sign up for an entire year. It comes out to like 90 cents. It's not per video or per week. There are no levels over there. It's only $1 for everybody. Fully refundable in the first 90 days. We've been able to partner with Vimeo to get around a lot of the censorship. There are still rules, but we've gotten around a lot of them. So I'll leave it there. Have a great week. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.